I'm not really that obsessed with finding a cure. We've put trillions of dollars into this fruitless direction since Nixon waged the war. And we mustn't forget that there's a lot of profit in sickness. So the best we can hope to get out of that level of research is things that keep us living longer while chronically ill. I was experiencing symptoms that I didn't seem normal, and it took me 2 years and 8 doctors to get proper diagnosis with uterine cancer. I got in the stirrups more times than Roy Rogers. And every doctor had a different reason why I was experiencing the symptoms. One doctor said that my stool changed because I was eating too much spinach. One doctor said that I had leg pain because I had restless leg syndrome and I should drink gin and tonic before going to bed. Another doctor said my breasts were feeling very hard because I had the breasts of an 18-year-old, which I do, but there I was with perky breasts in need of roughage, going to bed sloshed in some vain attempt to cure myself, when all the while I had uterine cancer and was being misdiagnosed for a perimenopausal condition that I didn't have. And for many women with gynecologic cancer, very often in the earliest stages, the symptoms are identical to more benign conditions. And so we have to be very mindful of that because many doctors in the West subscribe to the philosophy, if you hear hooves galloping, don't look for zebra, it's probably a horse. So the woman with ovarian cancer, which is a much more aggressive cancer than uterine, may be misdiagnosed for irritable bowel syndrome because at the cancer's earliest, most curable stage, it looks identical to that. And when I meet a woman that says she was just diagnosed with that, I say, honey, I hope that's what you have. But for the moment, step away from the gastroenterologist, go to your gynecologist and rule out ovarian cancer, because at the cancer's earliest and most curable whisper stage, it looks exactly like IBS and can easily be misdiagnosed. Then 6 months down the road, 6 months of precious time you really can't afford to waste, you find out that you're in late stage ovarian cancer. And most of the women that are diagnosed with ovarian cancer, 80% of them are diagnosed in the late stages and over 70% of them will die. So this is the kind of information that we need to start thinking about, how we need to empower ourselves to transform from being a patient into a medical consumer, take control of our bodies, and really be very proactive in challenging our physicians, becoming better partners with our physicians, always going for a second opinion, and accessing the myriad of information that's now readily available online. Well, we're brainwashed, and we think that, because the 20th century was the Industrial Revolution, but for the benefit of big business capitalists, and we, the consumer, have been brainwashed into thinking that we need all these repurposed war chemicals in our civilian life. And it simply isn't so, and it's not serving us well, and it's actually hurting us and hurting the planet. We don't need industrial strength cleaners. We don't need the kind of pesticides that are killing us as well, or interrupting our natural hormones, or increasing them, or just reducing the capability of our immune system, which is what keeps us healthy and in balance. So we really need to start looking at, and there's, by the way, no downside to this. The only people that might tell you that there is are people that are at risk of losing profit margins. Everything that we use should have an ingredient bank that might have grown in your grandma's garden. Before you leave the bathroom, a woman on average has exposed herself to a cocktail of 10 to 15 carcinogens, a man 8 to 12. That's before you walk in the kitchen and open the refrigerator door, or before you go under your kitchen counter to get that all-purpose cleaner to clean off the counter. We are, and that's just the beginning. That's just the in, on, and around you challenge that Cancer Schmancer teaches you how to start. After that, we have to start looking at the synthetic fabrics that we're wearing as undergarments. And since synthetic fabrics have been introduced into modern clothing, we've seen an increase in testicular cancer and breast cancer. The off-gassing of these synthetic fabrics are constantly penetrating our skin. And we're all scratching our heads wondering why we're getting sick, why the World Health Organization considers the United States number 35 in World Health. That's a very sick nation. And it's because we're listening to the wrong people. And we're blindly not challenging the irresponsible manufacturing that's being imposed on us. And we're waiting for somebody, some parent figure that's either in Washington or some research at some major health or academic institution to tell us what we can and we can't do. And we know in our hearts what it is. And we just have to start listening to that inner voice and not allowing big business to try and dumb us down. Well, I'm actually open to either, since I live in both states, but from New York, it's a little easier to get to DC, a little less commuting, and I really don't feel well when I fly long distances. So that's part of my incentive. Not that I don't love the state of California and think that, I can help in supporting it, continue to be a beacon for clean living and innovation. We're actually hoping to partner with Sean Parker Foundation, and somebody just brought up Vice President Biden as somebody that I should speak with and see if we can together join forces and find synergy. I'm much more interested in causation than reductionist medicine, and I'm looking at the whole body as a system. And I'm looking at what is creating dysfunction in that system. And I encourage every American to do the same. And Sean Parker Foundation and Vice President Biden and every other health organization to start really identifying causation and eliminating it. Let's not get cancer in the first place. How's that for a cure?